yeah. Is this a bad idea? It was a bad idea.
You the type I like, mama. If your hoe ain't dark skin and petite, nigga, she is not my kind. We out here passing hoes to the game. When you treat this hoe like wife, now you see one smoke by the hoe. I told him kill somebody. She keep asking me how a nigga know, bitch, I ain't tell nobody.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Rise Up Your Road. So today's video is part 2 / part 3 of the story time about Indecisive / no, we didn't name him Indecisive. We named him John Tucker. So John Tucker and Giant. So this was my situationship got me evicted. That was part 1. Part 2 is this right here. So this is part 2 to the my situationship got me evicted part 1. Okay, so I need to make sure I put this in the description when I put that up. Anyway, so this video is getting filmed a little different. So I recorded the first half of the part 2 a couple months ago. I was drunk as shit and faded, whatever, so I couldn't even finish the video. I literally just turned the camera off and went to sleep. The last thing that happened, I was pretty much just telling you guys that me and John Tucker still had our little dynamic going on, but I was just feeling some type of way because I'm just like, boy, you were supposed to be like, you were supposed to say something, you were supposed to stand up for me, and you're just sitting there looking stupid with your dick in your hands. Like, do something. I just wanted to mention the fact that when everything started going left with Giant, I had told John Tucker, like, during like one of my venting sessions with him, like, I'm gonna start looking for places because I feel like Giant is moving funny. John Tucker's like, nah, like, you're doing too much, basically, like, don't look for places, you're fine, blah, blah, blah. So it's just like, you say all that, but then look at how everything turned out. So I had booked a trip in October to go to California, right? I'm sorry, y'all, I just drank this Sprite. So I had been nannying overnight, and the mom had came back the day that I was flying out to California, right? So I leave from the mom's house with the kids and everything, and I remember this day the boy had asked like if he could stay for a soccer practice or a soccer private or something extra that he really didn't need. I think it was the soccer game, I don't know. It was something that he didn't particularly need to go to but wanted to go to, and I remember being frustrated because I was just like this is starting to run into my timeline kind of a thing. So I get to finishing up with him finally, and I leave there or whatever, and I go to John Tucker's house. I go to John Tucker's house, and John Tucker's not home, but he wants me to wait for him to get there. He tells me, like, wait for me to get there so I can see you before you leave for your trip. So I'm like, okay. So he gets there, and time is now ticking. I'm probably within like a 4-hour, 3-hour window of my flight at this point. He's there now, and we're hanging out, we're smoking, we're chilling, whatever. By the time we finish up, it's probably like 2.5 hours until my flight now, but I still need to go home and pack. When I think about this, I'm like, who was I really mad at? Like, girl, mind you, I had thrifted most of my stuff. Well, not most, well, yeah, I don't know, whatever. I had thrifted most of my stuff, so I had some of the stuff with me in the car, but I had washed it at John Tucker's house, and then I need to take it home with me to my house, get the rest of my clothes, like, to make outfits with the stuff I had, and then pack that up, go to the airport. So I leave from his place with my clean clothes, and, you know, I'm feeling good, feeling happy, whatever, we don't smoke, but I'm actually extremely in distress because the time, like I said, has ticked down, and now I'm starting to panic because I'm looking at the time. Like I said, we're in like a 2.5, 3-hour window of my flight, and I'm knowing that I still have to go home, use my brain cells to pack my luggage and put outfits together, get that shit, was it in the car, go to the airport, which thankfully I lived like 20-25 minutes from the airport, but still I had all this stuff to do. So y'all, this is just stressing me out telling the story because I'm just like, bro, you're an idiot. I'm sorry, Mariah, don't be so mean to yourself. So I go to the airport, right? So, or no, so I go to the house, I pack my stuff. At this point, I'm fucking panicking, but I'm just like, like, I'm just trying to breathe and shit, because, like, you know when you just start getting frazzled because you're just like, it's like when you're doing something fast because you're stressed out, so you're like dropping shit and, like, you know, panicking. Like, that's what it was. Like, I was just panicking. Like, it would be like, where's the sky, where's the sky, where's the sky? Oh yeah, it's up there. Okay, where's the ground, where's the ground? Like, girl, relax, you know what I mean? Like, I was just panicking. So load myself into the car. Now I'm driving to the airport. I'm panicking still because I'm just like, bro, like, am I gonna make it in time to, like, get on this airplane. So I get to the airport. I paid to park my car with the parking spot people. Shout out to them. I really fuck with them. Y'all, if you need to go to the airport, use the parking spot people if they have them. Like, it's literally the parking spot. It's the yellow brand. If they don't have them, then just use whatever they have. But that's the most convenient thing, because paying for an Uber when you get back from the airport is like $50, whereas paying for your car overnight for like a trip, depending on how long your trip is, can be like $30. So you're really saving money by just parking your car at the airport and then Ubering there and back. Anyway, so I park my car with the parking spot people. I get there, I get my little shuttle. The parking is fucking packed, might I add. There's not really any parking anyway, but yeah. So I find me a little parking spot. Find me a little parking spot. I get on the little shuttle. I get to the airport. I'm rushing to fucking, what's it called, baggage check. I get to baggage check. They're like, you're too late to check your bags. Go straight to TSA. I'm like, fuck. So I go take my silly ass straight to TSA. Mind you, I don't have TSA proof everything because I had to check bag. So I didn't need TSA. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I feel like rubbing my eye during the video, so distracting. But anyway, so I'm just irritated because I'm like, bro, like, this is bad. So they open up my bag up, bitch. They see my Milani setting spray. I had a full size, like this big, and like not this thick, probably like maybe like this thick, but like, yeah. Anyway, I had a full size Milani setting spray. They threw my bitch in the trash. I was like so I get through all that, get through the TSA, I get to the gates, flight gone. I'm like I'm so fucking sad. I called John Tucker and I'm just like, I missed my flight, da da da, blah blah blah. And he's just like, all right, like they have another flight leaving at 3. Like, let's say my flight left at 2. He's like, there's another flight leaving at 3. You can't get on that flight. I'm like, they didn't offer me that flight. They offered me the flight for tomorrow morning. Da da da. He's like, no, like there should be that flight. Go back in there. And I'm like, no, John Tucker, like I'm not going back in there. I'm already stressed out. Like, da da da. I'm just like not going off, but I'm just upset. Like, he's like, all right, well, like, are you coming back here? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm pretty sure I went back to his house that night. I'm pretty sure I went to his house that night, but yeah, I was so sad. I was like sad and stressed out because it's just like I done threw my spray away. Like, I done missed my flight. Mind you, I'm going to California to see my friends and family, some family. So I'm just frustrated because I'm like, bro, like I'm missing days of my trip at this point. Like, I don't have a lot of money to be booking this damn trip anyway. So missing any days of it just felt so like crushing, because it's like, bro, like I can't get that day back on this trip. I can't, like, let's say I miss Friday, I can't add Monday since I missed Friday. I can't do that. I have to be back the same day no matter what day I missed. So I was just like, fuck. I go to his house that night. The next morning I leave from his place, go straight to the airport. I have my bags with me, smooth sailing, get on my flight, whatever. While I'm in California, me and John Tucker are communicating like boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, we're on FaceTime, we're on the phone, blah blah. And that's the same way it was. I don't know if I mentioned it, but he had went to California for his birthday, and it was the same way like that too when he went for his birthday. Like, he was on the phone with me, FaceTiming, like in the car that he rented and stuff, just showing me like what he was doing, whatever. So we're moving like a fucking couple at this point. So while I'm in California, I get a call from John Tucker, and he's just like, hey, I have a friend who does interviews on his YouTube channel, and he wants to interview you, like, for doing your YouTube channel. I'm like, okay, bet. Like, when I get back to Atlanta, like, we could set it up. He's like, all right, bet. So I come back from California, and of course I bring us some goodies back from California. So we're just chilling, vibing, smoking, whatever, having a good time, you know, enjoying each other, being back together. So I booked my interview with the friend, right? So I go to the interview with the friend, and the interview turns out pretty good. We have a good time for the interview, and we actually decide, like, let's collab on some more content ideas coming up in the future. I start collabing with the guy that I do my interview with pretty consistently for probably like 2 weeks straight, and most of the time for that period I would go back to John Tucker's house after, because it was like a really short distance, like maybe 5 to 7 minutes from the studio was John Tucker's house. In October, I remember I like tell him at his apartment, I'm just like, yeah, like me and your friend hang out pretty often, like, you know, things are bound to, I didn't say things are bound to get spicy, but I was just like, me and your friend spend a lot of time together, and like, you know, I'm a very likable person. I'm pretty sure that's what I told him. And he was just like, I mean, y'all are grown, like y'all can do what you want to do, blah blah. So I'm just like, okay. And so at this point, I'm not like pursuing a whole full-blown relationship with this person, but I'm just like, all right, like, let's see what happens, you know. Like, I'm not gonna fight it, because at one point it was just like, oh my god, like, is this even allowed? You know what I mean? Like like, is this a flag on the play? Like, is this a bad idea? It was a bad idea. Okay. So like I was saying, it had transitioned from me and John Tucker being together damn near all the time, or like spend all of our free time together, or like him knowing, oh, she's at work, she's gonna be off at this time, or me being like, oh, he's at the gym right now, oh, he has a photo shoot right now, he's about to do da da da, and then I'm gonna see him lit. Like, we were always locked in at that time. So it had switched to where I was basically pulling back from him, because it was just like, I feel like I had so much trauma about like the things he didn't do and the other situations with Giant. So now fast forward, I'm hanging out at the studio with, let's name him Lionel. We'll name him Lionel. I don't know why, but I feel like that goes with him, because he's a little fucking rat. So basically, I start hanging out with Lionel, which is the studio owner. Ooh, I hope I didn't break that. So I start hanging out with Lionel, which is the studio owner. Like I said, I'm always over there. We're always chilling, kicking it, talking, whatever, making content, blah, blah, blah. At this point, I feel like things weren't particularly flirty, but it was getting to a point where it was just kind of like, okay, John Tucker, like, if you want me and you to do something or not, now is the time to speak up, because I'm getting ready to go to the next thing. Like, it is what it is. And he was just, like I said, like, well, y'all are grown, da da da. So it was like, okay, bro, whatever. So by that point, I would be hanging out with Lionel and stuff, chilling with Lionel, or just having plans on my own. And John Tucker would call me randomly. He'll send me random selfies and shit. Like, he wouldn't do this type of stuff before. So it was like, once he noticed that his grip on me was loosening up, he started to try to get it back, but in childish ass ways. Instead of calling me and being like, yo, I miss you, or being like, yo, we need to talk, I thought I didn't care about you, but I do, or anything like that. He just would call me like, what you doing? Or send me like a picture or a video with him with the funny filter on. Like, we don't even do this type of stuff. So why are you doing it now that you feel like you don't have me? You know what I'm saying? And I just stopped being as available for him. Like, I wouldn't respond as much, or I would lag, or I would call him back later, or, you know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, I gotta go. Me and Lionel are about to do da-da-da. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we would actually have shit going on, versus I'm steady telling you, come up here to the studio. You live 5 minutes down the street and you won't come. Like, what the fuck? In the midst of all of this stuff happening, like I said, me and Lionel are spending hella time at the studio. So it's come to a point where, like, because y'all gotta remember, I wasn't working a regular like 9 to 5. So I would really just have to go take the kids to school in the morning, and then in the middle of the day, I would pretty much make my own schedule. I could go back to work anytime between like 10 and 2, and then I would be off between like 5 and 8, depending on the day. So between those times, the studio wasn't too far where I could just go chill at the studio with him, make content, edit, do stuff like that, run errands for the studio. That's how it would be, you know what I'm saying? So we would spend hella time together. So it would be like late nights. I would leave from work and just go straight to the studio. So I might be at the studio from like 8:30 to like 2 a.m. And then I'd be like, hey, just come back to my place with me, because I don't want to give his tea out. But basically, Lionel was in a position to where he lived far AF. I don't even know if I want to say that. Like, basically, his options were either to sleep at his studio or go rent a room. And so if I was, like, I literally had the whole house to myself. So I was like, oh, well, you can just come to my place if you want. And then, like I said, I don't know if I even mentioned this in the other video, but around the time that I had ended up moving from getting kicked out of homeboy's house to moving to the nanny fam's house, I had got super private about where I live and stuff like that. So I wasn't really telling anybody where I lived, and I wasn't interested or open to telling Lionel where I lived. But when I had got that situation where the lizard was in my apartment and was in my house, and I was scared, I called John Tucker. He didn't answer, or he answered, but he didn't come to help me. And so at the same time that I was on the phone with John Tucker, I was texting Lionel, because remember, like I said, around that time, me and Lionel were already talking hella about content creation and everything else. So I had texted him a picture of me crying, because I'm like one of those people, if I'm texting you, I send pictures, I send voice notes, I send every type of media you can send, I send everything. So I had sent him a picture and he was like, oh my god, are you crying? I was like, yeah. He's like, what's wrong or whatever? And I'm telling him like, there's a fucking lizard in my house, like I'm scared. He was like, well, do you want me to come get it? And I'm like, please, like, can you please come get it? Because I was so fucking scared. So that's how he knew where I lived anyway. Then it was like, it became convenient because his studio was 20 minutes from where I live, which isn't that far. And then he was one of those people who wouldn't drive on the freeway. So on the freeway, it was going to be like a 20-minute drive. On the like back roads, it was going to be a 20-minute drive. So it was perfect for both of us, because like that's a good distance drive for someone who doesn't get on the freeway. 20 minutes is not bad. So it was just perfect. It was convenient, basically. So like I said, we started spending hella nights together. And I remember one night we were at the studio, and like this was like a point where I feel like we started to kind of know like we're gonna probably be a thing. And the history between me and John Tucker came up, right? It had came to a point where basically me and Lionel were outside, and I was just telling him like, look, this is what it was with me and John Tucker. Me and John Tucker were not just friends. I know he introduced to you me as his YouTuber friend or whatever, but we were not just friends. We were friends with benefits. We were sexually active. We did have a whole situationship go on. This, that, and the third happened, blah, blah, blah. And so I pretty much told Lionel about everything, and Lionel was just kind of like, okay, like if that's what it was, then you know, okay, cool, type thing. Like y'all weren't dating, y'all weren't together. And I'm not gonna say Lionel told me that was never his friend, but the way that Lionel was putting it, it was like they were just more so acquaintances and ex-co-workers, not particularly homeboys. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was just kind of like, he felt like he wasn't crossing no boundaries, I felt like I wasn't crossing no boundaries, so we were just like, okay, bet. And then on top of that, when I did go back to John Tucker and tell him before I even knew for sure that there was emotions going on, I tried to tell him like, yo, the vibes are starting to vibe with me and Lionel. Like, do you want to cut it off at the head and finish what we have going on? Do you want to just end what we have going on and end what I have? Like, what are you feeling? You know what I'm saying? I tried to give him a leg to stand on within giving his own opinion or whatever. In the situation, he didn't care. He said, y'all are grown, do what you want to do. So I took it as what he said. Mind you, well, we'll get into that, but that's not what the fuck he meant, okay? So basically, like I said, every single time I would be up there, I would be calling John Tucker, telling him to pull up to the studio. He would never come, right? So fast forward some time, I did my interview in October. By the time October ends, going into November is when me and John Tucker start to kind of fall out, and me and Lionel start to pick up. By the end of November, early December, me and Lionel are in a relationship, I believe. I believe we are now officially boyfriend and girlfriend, because if I'm not mistaken, we started dating right after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas. So I'm pretty sure our like anniversary or whatever was like November 28th or 26th. It was somewhere near the end of November, I believe. So now we're officially together. John Tucker ends up booking Lionel's studio online. So like I said, they've been friends, they've been cool, they have each other's numbers. He's been able to just pull up, and if I'm not mistaken, he had been up there once or twice before I had ever been there, as in John Tucker. Before he connected me and Lionel, he had been up there at least once, I believe. So he knew what the studio was, he had his contact information, he never really went through the website. Now if I'm not mistaken, when this situation happened, John Tucker went through and booked Lionel's studio online, right? So at this point, I had stopped already going to Lionel's house after I would leave John Tucker. Lord, I'm switching the names up. At that point, I had stopped going to John Tucker's apartment after I would leave Lionel's studio, because we had pretty much cut off what we had going on in terms of me and John Tucker, and I had started picking up with me and Lionel. So I had already, like I mentioned that earlier in the story, like I had stopped hanging out with him as much, which is why he started to call and text me and shit more. So fast forward, he books the studio. So when he books the studio, me and Lionel are just like, that's weird as fuck that he just finally booked the studio when we've been telling him to come up here before everything got even weird, before things advanced, like before we even knew if it was anything, because that was my thing too. I was desperate to get Lionel and John Tucker under the same roof, because I just wanted to see, was John Tucker going to take some level of ownership, some level of that's my girlness in front of Lionel, or was he going to be on the complete and total, we just friends, if you want her you could have her type of vibe? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like when it came to me and John Tucker, no matter how much we said it was what it was more than what we were saying it was. And I felt like I was trying to force him into admitting it, and this is kind of how everything with Lionel expedited so quickly. But I'm not gonna say I didn't like Lionel, because I did like Lionel, and he was a shapeshifter, and then once we got together, he shapeshifted. So I feel like the driving force to going so fast with being interested in Lionel was probably because it was like, okay, John Tucker, like, if you don't want me and life can keep going on, I'm young, I'm hot, I can do what I want to do, I'm gonna live my life. And then of course Lionel's like, ooh, who's this young hot fine girl, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So he's shape-shifting and doing what he has to do to attract me, and it was just too easy. It was just too fucking easy. So anyways, he booked the studio, and we're just like, this shit is weird as fuck, but whatever. So at that point, I had already started working bookings with Lionel. So when he would have interviews or bookings for people coming to do photo shoots and stuff, I would be there to help out with like lighting, or, you know, giving out refreshments, or just helping them run the booking in general, just kind of like helping them operate day-to-day operations, you know. Putting out bug traps, because there would be like little bugs trying to come into the studio, so we put like bug traps. We'd just be doing different types of stuff, running errands, things like that, going to get the clients from the front if he was doing something, or whatever the case is, you get what I'm saying. So we were like, you know what, for this booking, I'm not staying. You can work this booking on your own, because this is kind of weird that, you know, this is happening like this, but, you know, you do the booking, I'm going home. Call me after the booking and let me know how it goes, type of thing. He pretty much tells me that, he's like, yo, like, what do y'all have going on, da 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 da, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? And he was just like, he was just acting weird, he was acting awkward, like, just basically saying that it was weird and it was awkward or whatever. Now keep in mind, I think I mentioned this in the other story, I'm not 100% sure, but basically, remember how I mentioned that John Tucker had a DJ friend who was out of town and kind of knew everything that was happening between me, Giant, and John Tucker, excuse me, before Lionel was even in the picture? Well, around this time, the DJ friend was in town. So I don't know if y'all remember, in part 1, I mentioned having to give the key back to John Tucker. John Tucker asked for his key back because the DJ friend was coming in town, but when he asked me for the key back, it was way before the DJ friend was coming in town, because if I'm not mistaken, that happened October, November, I think, and that boy didn't come in town until December. So whatever, but either way, so he comes into town. So when he came into town, it was him, the DJ friend, John Tucker, and Lionel at the studio when he booked it. So Lionel calls me just like, what's going on, da da da, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? He's just like, he was just being weird, da da da, like, do y'all have something going on, blah blah. I'm like, no. So from there, Lionel's just like, well, you need to call John Tucker and basically tell him, like, whatever y'all have going on is over with, is done, like, it's not a thing, you guys are done, and me and you are now a thing. And so I'm just like, okay, like, why can't you have that conversation with him though, like, man to man type of thing? And he was just kind of like, no, like, that's for you guys to take care of, basically. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, and in my head, I don't know if I was right to think he should do it as the man, but it was just kind of like, you know what, if you feel like because it was my situationship, I need to cut it off at the head, then fine. But I really do feel like going backwards, like, because y'all knew each other before y'all knew me, and this whole situation is a matter of like somebody feeling spited in some form or fashion, I feel like they should have had a conversation. But who fucking knows? At this point, I don't know who's right and who's wrong, honestly. Maybe I was fucking wrong for dating friends, I don't know. And because there was just so much high emotions rolling and stuff, I wanted them to talk man to man, he wanted me to talk to him woman to man, and I'm just like, okay bro, like, whatever. But I definitely just was like telling him, like, because he was just like, what do you guys have going on? Because why would he be acting weird if you guys don't have anything going on? And I'm just like, we don't have anything going on. We did have something going on. I already told you everything. We don't have anything going on now. I don't know what he's acting on now, but like, I don't know what to tell you. And mind you, in my back of my head, I'm like, I went over in person and warned him of all of this stuff that might transpire, and he still is acting weird. Like, the fuck am I supposed to do? I remember this day I had called John Tucker on the phone. I feel like it was like a morning time, or it was like midday, probably like early afternoon, whatever. I called him, or I texted him, I think, first, and I said, hey, like, are you busy or something? He said no. Or I called him, said like, hey, are you busy? He's like, no. I'm like, well, can I talk to you or whatever? He's like, what's up? And so I was just like, hey, like, you know, I just wanted to let you know, like, me and Lionel are getting pretty serious. Like, we're probably gonna become like a couple, you know, pretty soon, like a serious relationship. And he was just like, oh, okay, that sounds good or whatever. And he was like, he already knows like everything that has happened between us. And I said, yeah. He was like, he's fine with everything. I was like, yeah. he was like, oh, okay, well, like, yeah, cool, like, like, whatever, you know, pretty much like, okay, cool, whatever. You know, it's cool. And so I was like, okay, like, bet. Yeah, so he was just like, oh, he doesn't mind, like, because that's what he asked, like, oh, you told him everything? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, he didn't mind or whatever. I'm like, no, like, he doesn't mind. And so he was just like, oh, okay, whatever, all right, like, whatever. So we end up getting off the phone. We get off of the phone, and then I get a text from John Tucker, and he was just like, yeah, man, like, I'm happy for you. I don't block blessings. Lionel's a good guy. Like, I'm happy for you, da-da-da. So if I'm not mistaken, I just like the message or, like, look the message, because I'm just like, what do I say? Like, oh, I'm so thankful you gave me your go pass. I, like, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to say to that? So I just love the message. And either way, I just felt like me responding back to it would have felt like it was like I was doing it to dig at him, to be like, yeah, you know, I'm glad you're happy for us. I just, like, it wasn't anything to do with him, and I really didn't feel like it needed anything to be explained to him from my perspective. That's how I felt. So it was just like there was no need to respond. So, whatever. So the next day, I woke up, I noticed I have one less follower on Instagram. I have one less subscriber on YouTube. I have one less everything on my social medias. And I'm like, that's funny. That's weird. So I go look up who unfollowed me on Instagram, and it's John Tucker. So I'm just like, okay, like, you just told me yesterday you're happy for me, all this, that, and the third. Now I'm unfollowed off of everything. Mind you, it wasn't like you blocked and unblocked me. You unfollowed me and left me following you. Like, I thought you said everything was fine. Basically, when this happened where John Tucker unfollowed me off of everything, I knew he was hurt. I knew that it pissed him off. I knew that he was upset. I knew he was bothered. But my concern was like, okay, I'm no longer just Mariah that's talking to John Tucker, or just Mariah who's talking to Lionel. I'm now actually Lionel's girlfriend. So it was just like, bro, like, I don't have any room to be like, hey, John Tucker, I saw you unfollowed me. Like, are we good? Like, I don't want no smoke. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I had any room to do that, but I felt terrible when I saw it. I knew that he felt differently than what he actually expressed, and that bothered me because I don't know if I already said it in the previous videos, but I had feelings for him at one point. I genuinely wanted to be with him at one point. So when I realized that I hurt him, I was just like, fuck, like, it's too late to go back. But I tried to give you multiple chances to speak on your fucking emotions, and you didn't do it. So I was just kind of like, at this point, all I can do is pour into my current relationship and hope for the best, you know? So that's what I did. I'm sorry, my nose is itching like crazy. I never wanted John Tucker to feel like anything that happened between me and Lionel was out of spite of him. Like, oh, she's trying to get back at me. No, it's never a thing of trying to get back at you. Like, I would never be the type to use my pussy to get back. Like, we don't do that over here. I don't play pussy get back. That shit is weird. Way too big, way too grown. No, like, it's never giving that. Like, what you say, fucking best friend and make, yes, man, that's just a song. We don't actually do that. And on top of that, at that point, if John Tucker told me, what do you mean you and Lionel? Oh, you got me fucked up. You knew we had something that I would have been like, yo, I'll cut Lionel off right now. Like, I'll cut Lionel off right now, because I hate starting something new with someone else when you have something that could have worked. You know what I'm saying? So if he was like, let's try to figure this out, I would have been like, bet, let's try to figure this out then. Like, sorry, Lionel. And it just would have been a, sorry, Lionel. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was more important for me to not hurt John Tucker than it was for me to not hurt Lionel at that time. But when John Tucker didn't express anything to be like, wait, hold on, I didn't think you were really gonna go or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, well, shit, you don't mind, then what am I worried about? Like I said, everything with John Tucker, him and I stopped talking by end of November because I had told him me and Lionel are now a thing. So fast forward, December, January, February, March, April. April is when I'm realizing for sure, me and Lionel are not gonna make it. May, June. June comes, me and Lionel officially break up completely. We officially break up. I'm done. I'm realizing I have to leave Georgia because I cannot stay in this relationship. I cannot stay with this person, and I didn't believe that he was the type to stay away. I feel like he was the type that was going to continue to pursue me, because I feel like losing me was bigger than keeping me. Like I feel like for him, he could manipulate and do more with me by his side than he could without me by his side. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just like he knew the benefit and the tool, if you will, of having me by his side. So I feel like even if he was willing to let the breakup happen, he was gonna come back around, or hey, let's get lunch, or hey, do you need anything? You know what I'm saying? I feel like he was gonna try to finesse his way back in. Income was getting low, income was getting wishy-washy. I was basically struggling with money more than I was when I met him because of some of the advice he gave me. It was just bad. Like, I feel like within the relationship with Lionel, there was a lot of manipulation, a lot of like downplaying, a lot of just him putting himself here and trying to put me here, even though if anything we were equals. You know what I'm saying? But because that's the thing, I don't know if people remember who I'm talking about or not, but basically he was early 30s, I was early 20s. So it's like, for you to try to bash someone and downplay them, and you're in damn near the same position they're in, and you have 10 years on them, you're not doing any better than them, but you feel superior because you're older, and you like that manipulation and the life experience you have that you can kind of use against them. You like that shit, you know? He was just sick in the fucking coconut. So he left me worse off than I started, but this was still me transitioning from being with him. So basically it's June. I'm now doing Grubhub, DoorDash, and Instacart to make my money. So at that point, like I said, I knew I was leaving Georgia. Me and Lionel were officially broken up, and we were just still living under the same roof. We were just getting everything packed up and stuff like that, just getting ready to transition. While this is all happening, which, like, I guess I'm probably gonna, if I do a series on that whole breakup and the relationship and everything, I'll get into all of that. But anyway, so around this time, I'm just getting ready to pack and leave and everything. So I'm just super duper emotional because of the fact that I didn't see myself leaving Georgia until I was like financially stable and like really good. I didn't see myself leaving Georgia until I had like a career plan and a savings account that was flourishing. You know what I'm saying? So there was certain stuff I had, even if it was just decorations for Christmas or certain little trinkets and stuff, I never expected to have to get rid of it because I was just like, oh, I'm gonna be here. Like, I move a lot. I'm sorry, y'all, I had a lot to drink. I had tea and chlorophyll water before this. So because I was moving around a lot, I had finally decided I'm gonna stay here or in Georgia as long as I can. So I didn't really plan to move. So when I was moving and having to get rid of stuff, I was super duper emotional, and it was just really hard for me. So when I found out I was moving, I hit up my exes basically. So I hit up my ex-boyfriend, or my ex-situationship, who was like a photographer and like the first dude I met when I moved to Atlanta. I hit him up. So anyway, so this day I'm doing Instacart. Keep in mind, at this point, Lionel still has my location because we had shared each other's locations, and it was to a point where like we were just trying to be cordial in the house, and he was very manipulative. Like, if I would do anything, he'll be like, oh, I thought you said we were friends, like you're not treating me like a friend, this, that, and the third, So I was just trying to do whatever I could to not ruffle any feathers during that last week of living there. So I didn't turn my location off. And so this day I had went out to do like Instacart, and so it would even be like to the point where he'll call me or text me like, oh, where are you, or like, what are you doing? And I would tell him, oh, I'm doing Instacart, or I'm doing this, that, and the third, whatever. And so I had told him, oh, I'm doing Instacart. So I'm doing Instacart, whatever. I'm on the phone with my homegirl. While I'm doing Instacart, I go pick up the groceries. Keep in mind, like I told you guys, I lived about 20 minutes from the studio. The studio was about 5 minutes from John Tucker's. So, I mean, from, the studio is about 5 minutes from John Tucker's. So I'm doing a Instacart order about 10 minutes from the studio. I'm headed to go do the drop-off. I go to the drop-off. Why am I pulling up to John Tucker's fucking apartment, y'all? So I pull up to his apartment. I'm just like, bitch, because I'm on the phone with my homegirl. I'm like, bitch, why did I just pull up to John Tucker's apartment for this fucking delivery? Keep in mind, I don't know if I had texted John Tucker this day. I'm pretty sure I texted John Tucker that day, but he didn't respond. So I texted John Tucker that day before the Instacart order. Now I'm going to drop the Instacart order off, and I had texted him a few hours before that, I'm pretty sure, or I had considered texting him a few hours. Either I did it or I was thinking about doing it. So now I'm pulled up to his shit. Mind you, the delivery is not particularly at his front door, but it's his apartment. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm getting buzzed in and shit. All I have to do is go up there now. Like, I know where his apartment is at. So I'm just like, oh my god, like girl, I have an order to John Tucker's. Like, what if it's actually his building? Because it's like there's 2 sides to the building. There's multiple buildings in the building. Like, just because it was his address did not mean that it would have been easy to access his actual unit, because I still needed to get into the building. So just so happens to be his exact unit, his exact side, his building, everything. So I go up to the building, I drop off the groceries, and I'm just like, bro, I'm literally like 1 or 2 floors down from, up from John Tucker's apartment. What if he's here? I should go up there, whatever. And so what's it called? So I drop off the Instacart order, I go back to my car. Mind you, when I go back to my car, I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna go up there, I'm not sure, but I'm just gonna drive around to see if I see his car. Now keep in mind, right before we stopped being friends, he had posted on his close friends that he had broke his windshield. Like, the back windshield of his car had got cracked, right? So he had a white car. So I'm driving around the parking lot looking for a white car, but I don't see one. And I was like, dang, like, in the back of my head, I'm like, there's a small chance that either he's not home or he might have got a different car when his windshield got broken, but I don't know what the new car would be. I'm driving around the parking lot, I don't see him, I don't see the car, whatever. Now, I'm getting ready to give up or just park and wait, because I'm like, my anxiety is going through the roof. I'm on the phone with my homegirl. We're over here like, what you doing? You know what I'm saying? We're just like, oh my god, like, this is like a fucking movie. This is crazy. Like, I cannot believe the Instacart order was to his house. I texted him earlier today. He didn't text me back. You know, now I'm driving around the parking lot to see if I see his car, because I know where he would normally park. So I'm looking around the spot. I don't see his car, because I just wanted to talk to him, because I'm just like, bro, like, after everything that has happened, like, I just wanted to know, like, did Lionel ever manipulate anything between me and John Tucker that I don't know about? Because with all the manipulation and bullshit that happened, and anytime I would even mention John Tucker to Lionel, he would get so mad. And it would be like, for you to get so mad of me mentioning somebody who we were introduced through is crazy to me, because you know that that's our origin story. No matter how much you don't like the origin story, or if you feel shame about it, then you shouldn't have gone forward with being with me. But at the end of the day, he's part of the reason we know each other, and he was really a friend to me. Regardless of whatever else happened, we were friends before anything. And that's what I was trying to explain in the first half of the story. Like, we created a friendship that transitioned into a situationship, that transitioned into a toxic breakup, if you will. But either way, we were friends. Like, we talked about some real ass shit. So, and he opened up to me about his traumas. I opened up to him about my traumas. So anytime I would bring up certain things that were relevant to conversations me and Lionel were having, he would get so fucking mad. So I just started to be curious, like, did he ever plant seeds in in John Tucker's ear about me? Or did he ever, I don't know. I just wanted to make sure he didn't touch that relationship. I wanted to make sure whatever bad point me and John Tucker ended up at was because of him and I, and not because of anything Lionel tried to add in. So that's why I was so adamant about talking to him and just getting that closure of, like, I'm leaving Georgia in the next couple days and we're not cool, and I never imagined us to be this not cool, and I just want us to get to a even playing ground of, like, if I did see you one day, it wouldn't be beef, or, you know, if I did need something from you, it wouldn't be this matter of, like, bitch, fuck you, or, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just feel like I never want to have a long-term sour taste in anybody's mouth that I was really cool with. Basically from there, like I said, I'm driving around the parking lot. I end up seeing this car, and it's like a brownish car that is giving a bucket, but it's not literally a bucket. It's probably like an early 2000s like Camry or something like that. It's like a brownish car, and I'm looking like, the person in the car looks just like John Tucker, but I'm like, that's not John Tucker's car. Keep in mind, in the back of my head, like I said, I know that last time I seen his car, he had the windshield cracked in the back. So I'm like, that could be him, but, like, I didn't, and I'm not trying to, if you do see this John Tucker, this is by no means no shade, because at the end of the day, he was doing better off than I was, 110%. But I didn't expect for him to go from the car he had to that car. So when I saw it, I'm like, I think that's him, I think that's him. But I'm like, nah, that can't be him. Mind you, the car was driving up, so it gave like he just came back from the gym. Where the car parked, I'm like, bro, if that is John Tucker, that makes sense where the car parked, because this is the areas he would normally park in to get to his apartment, in reference to where his building is and where the car parked, and the way that he looked in it. Like, he would wear, like, he had like a full beard, and he would have like braids. I could just see a light skin, or like his skin tone black dude with braids. I couldn't really see everything. I could just see his general features, and I'm like, that's his body, like, that's his that's the way he looks. Like, I cannot see through and through, eye to eye, all the details, but that's his build. That's the way his face looks from afar. That's the way his hair sits on his head. Like, I spent a lot of time with this nigga. So I'm like, bro, that's him, bro, that's him. And then I realized it's really him, and I'm like, oh, Audrey, it's him. Oh my god, it's really him. Like, that's John Tucker right there. He just pulled up, she's like, oh my god, bitch, like, are you gonna say something? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna say something. So at that point, I think I rolled my window down, or I might have said something, or I might have made eye contact. He didn't say anything back to me, or I don't even remember exactly what happened in that moment, if I caught his eye or not. But all I know is I saw him clear as day. He knows my car clear as day, and I don't think I was even parked yet. So I'm pretty sure we made eye contact. He knew I was there. He knew I was there. So at that point, he doesn't say anything, or the interaction doesn't go how I need it to. So I text him, and I'm just like, I'm coming up there because I need to talk to you. He texts me back. He's like, don't come up here. I don't have anything to say to you. Keep in mind, like I said, I'm pretty sure earlier that day I texted him. He didn't respond. So it's like, nigga, you keep ignoring me. I'm coming up there. I don't give a fuck. Like, I got something to say. So I come up there. So he's like, I don't have anything to say to you. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I'm coming upstairs. So I'm like knocking on the door. And I'm just like knocking, like, come to the door. Like, I just want to talk to you. Da da da. So he comes to the door. Bitch, he's standing on motherfucking business. He was standing on business. He didn't give a fuck. He was like, I'm just like, can I come in? He's just like, no. I'm just like, well, I want to talk to you. Da da da. He's just like, I don't really have anything to say to you. And he was just like, Mariah, you knew I had feelings for you. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? He's like, Mariah, you knew I had feelings for you. I'm like, what are you talking about? Mind you, you have to remember, I called him before everything happened with me and fucking Lionel. I'm telling him play by play, piece by piece. Hey, if you don't want me to push the button on this, please say something now. Speak now, forever hold your fucking peace. He kept holding his fucking peace. Now, you're talking about feelings? What feelings? You told me right person, wrong timing. You told me all this stuff. Like, you told me that you didn't want to be with me. So, you thought I was just going to sit there and twiddle my thumbs until you changed your mind? He was like, you know I had feelings for you, and you went and dated my friend. And I'm just like, y'all were not friends. You didn't express your feelings. I'm just debunking everything. Like, John Tucker, are you for real right now? Are you serious? Like, I'm just like, bro, for real? Like, you're really going to say that? Like, because in my head, I'm like, I spoke on my emotions for you. I spoke on my feelings for you. I spoke on how I felt multiple times, as did you. And you kept telling me no. Like, you kept telling me no matter how you felt, you kept telling me the answer was no. So, boom, yeah. So, at that point, I bring up Lionel. I'm like, look, I'm just here to find out, like, did Lionel ever hit you up or say anything to you on my behalf or anything like that? Because I just want to make sure. I was like, you know, Lionel turned out to be somebody completely different than who I thought he was. He was not who I thought he was at all. And I just want to make sure that he didn't, you know, leak into our relationship in any capacity. So John Tucker's like, look, Lionel owes me X amount of money. I'm like, what the fuck? Because basically, from what I know, Lionel was paid by John Tucker to write a book for him. So Lionel calls himself this art author, which, keep in mind, if this nigga comes out with some affirmation books, I wrote those. Please know that. Anyway, so he calls himself an author, and I guess John Tucker had gave him transcripts or something to write a book, right? Mind you, Lionel had transcripts to write a book for John Tucker. He also had transcripts to write a book for his own brother. Every time his brother would call him about this book, he didn't have any updates, deadlines, nothing for him. So I know for facts that John Tucker was not lying when he said that Lionel owes him money pertaining to this book, because I know that Lionel owes his own brother money or a project. Do you know what I'm saying? Either you need to pay your brother back whatever he sent you, or you need to give him the fucking book you told him you were going to produce. But he didn't do that because he had so much other shit going on. He was the type of person that has so much shit going on, it looked like his shit was together, but really his shit was not together at all. It's just you look busy enough to where people think that you have everything going on. It's kind of how people do me now. They'll be like, oh, you're just so this, that, and the third. And I'm like, bitch, my shit is not together. Like, I'm doing okay, but bitch, the lights aren't on just by myself. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was giving the same thing. But he liked to act like his shit was together because of himself. Your shit is, anything that you do have together is because of somebody else. Point blank, period. From there, it was kind of really comforting, if you will, but it was still hard. So like I said, at the end of everything, I did just ask him, like, okay, I just want to make sure that Lionel never did get a chance to dilute anything we did have, whether it was good, bad, whatever. I want to make sure whatever bone to pick we have is only from whatever fuck we created. And he was just like, you know, he owes me money. And I was like, you know, I don't know anything about that, which I do. Like I just said, I do. But I just felt like I didn't want to use that moment to go have a bash Lionel session with John Tucker. It wasn't like that. I just wanted him to know, like, this shit went left. It blew up in my face. And I kind of did want him to have the last laugh of, like, I made a bad decision to go fuck with him, and look how it turned out for me. And also, you have to live with the fact that you know that there was a good chance that if you spoke on your feelings, we probably would have been together and been a successful couple. But you have to live with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lionel, I mean, fuck Lionel. John Tucker has to live with the fact that the one who got away, got away. You know what I'm saying? The same way I have to live with the fact that if me and Lionel didn't have our thing, maybe me and John Tucker might have been fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, and obviously, like, I'm not living life with these regrets of like, oh my god, I wish I could have been with this one. Or me dating these guys in their 30s and they say little shit where it's like they act like their shit is so together, but it's like your shit isn't that together if you're with me. And I'm not saying any guy in their 30s who's dating a 20-something-year-old doesn't have their shit together, but the guys, they didn't have their shit together enough to say some of the little shit that they would say. And really, I'm talking about Lionel. I'm not really talking about John Tucker. John Tucker would always be like, Mariah, you're doing amazing. And John Tucker would always let me know that I'm 30 whatever, and I just got some of the stuff that you have now. So don't make yourself feel bad for not having it, you know. And so that is more so about Lionel. But anyway, that was that. So from there, that's when I had asked him, like, well, can I have a hug? Like, things went really bad. He wasn't who I thought he was. I said, I'm leaving Atlanta in a few weeks. I mean, in a week, like in a few days more so. And I was just like, you'll probably never see me again. Like, things didn't go as planned, whatever. And so from there, he gave me a hug and he was just like, do you want your ramen back? And so I started laughing because basically when we were still dating or whatever, he's like a super health nut. I loved ramen. When I say I loved ramen, I'm talking about like the box chicken ramen, the one that comes in the 12 pack for like $2-3 at the store. I'm talking about that ramen. I love that shit. I literally had that last night. I love ramen. So when I came over his house, I had bought 2 bricks of ramen. He saw it and he took it from me and he threw it on the top of his countertops or whatever. Like, you know, you have like your, I mean, not your counters, you know, you have the cabinets. And then there's like a gap between the ceiling and the cabinet. He put it up there because I'm short. So he put it up there so I couldn't get it. So when we were having this last little hurrah, he was like, do you want your ramen back? And so I just started laughing. I'm like, it's still up there? He was like, yeah. And I stepped inside for a quick second while he grabbed the ramen. He grabbed the ramen down. He gave it to me or whatever. We just kind of had our last hurrah. I was just like, all right, well, bye, John Tucker. And he was just kind of like, you know, bye, Mariah. I don't know if we hugged or not. We might have hugged. And then, you know, I just walked away. And we never spoke again. And then when I posted the story time about his line brother kicking me out, I did send him the link to it. He never responded. I didn't really expect him to respond just because he stood on business so heavy when I showed up at his apartment. I knew he wasn't going to respond now that I'm actually out of the state in Texas. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that was pretty much that. I did go lurk on his Instagram page once or twice after that. Like, I probably lurked on his shit like August or September or something. Like, around the time I sent the story time is around the time that I lurked on his Instagram. But ever since then, I haven't checked his Instagram or anything. I will say that that whole dynamic in that situation, I feel like was very traumatizing. I think it's something I still need to discuss in therapy because it was just like, I feel like it kind of highlighted abandonment issues that I didn't know I had, because it was just kind of like I felt so what's the word, entitled to John Tucker playing a bigger role in protecting me against Giant, and when he didn't, that just, I feel like it just kind of ruined a lot for us. And then also just like my inability to access him as a friend after me and Lionel became a thing also made me feel abandoned in a sense, because I felt like when we first started hanging out, I remember telling him clear as day, like, you are now part of my life and you have to be in it for the long one, because you have to see me come out the other end of this. Because I remember before I was diagnosed bipolar, I had a conversation with him and he goes, Mariah, are you bipolar? And I was like, I don't know, John Tucker. And I was just crying. But I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I hope it all made sense. If I forgot something, maybe I'll put a voiceover in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, follow, double tap, triple tap, everything, period. If you want more story times, leave those in the comments. Love you all. See you never. Bye.